Turn it on. There's a switch to turn it on. Microphone?
Hello. Hello. Well, I'd like to thank all of you people for coming today to celebrate my 85th birthday. So, what we're going to do is give you a little touch of my 85 years. I was born in August 9th, 1933 in the John B. Murphy Hospital in Chicago, which is long gone. They tore it down a long time. When I was old enough to realize things, I was living at 2177 Sunnyside. And in 1941, my father left. We never saw him again.
Yeah, we did that to Denny's one time, remember?
Well, yeah, we went out to California, saw him later. That'll come later, about that. So, for some reason, I was nicknamed Tad, T-A-D. That's what they call me. But then when I went to grammar school, I said, oh, that sounds like a sissy. My name's Ted. So, I used that Ted name all through years. And in St. Louis, Rosemary's family all call me Ted. All my friends down there call me Ted. So I have to explain that. But my real name is John Van Dyke Skillman, Jr. BD is right, yeah. And when my grandmother put when I got married in St. Louis in 1955, called my grandmother to get a phone for us. We're moving in an apartment. So in the phone book it read John VD in very big black letters. We used to get funny calls. Have you got it? Are you going to get it? So years later, when my son Bob was born, his mother decided to name him Robert Van Dyke. All right. And then when Bob and Mary Beth had this fine young gentleman over here, they named him Van Dyke Skillman. But we call him Van. We call him Van. And many years ago, I went to St. George High School for 2 years. Thank God for my grandmother and grandfather because they raised us. God bless them. And my grandfather passed away in August of 49. And then from then on, I went back to the public school after that because my grandmother couldn't afford to pay the tuition up there. Yeah, I went back to the public school, right? And while I was fooling around doing those kind of things, I joined the National Guard when I was 18 and said, oh boy, I missed the draft and all that good stuff. Well, smart-ass me missed a couple meetings. They discharged me from the National Guard. And 2 weeks later, greeting from the President of the United States. You're drafted. I was 19 years old, scared to death because Korean War was still going on. But we got through that. They signed a truce and all that stuff, so I didn't have to worry about getting killed. And then in 1954, I met my future wife at the USO in downtown St. Louis. She was a volunteer there.
It was fate.
Huh? Yeah. And we danced together, and then I decided, I never told her this, but I was going out with another girl because we were stationed at the Granite City. Wait a minute now. We were stationed at the Granite City Engineer Depot, which is across the river from St. Louis. So anyway, I figured out, well, maybe I'll ask this girl out on a date. So I flipped a coin, and it came up heads, and I said, okay, Rosemary, you won. And that's where we started. But that's the truth. It's the truth. But anyway, we ended up dating for over a year. Then we got married when I got out of the Army. Moved up here to Illinois. And then we proceeded to have 4 children, all 3 years apart. Right? Right. Uh-huh. And they turned out, as far as I'm concerned, wonderful children. I'm so pleased with it. But I give all the credit in the world to my lovely wife, Rosemary, who raised these kids, because I was in the police department. I was gone all the time. And, you know, she took care of things like that. Then when I first came out to Carpentersville, I had an old buddy in Chicago. His name was Al Giuliano. And he said, "Oh, you're moving to Carpentersville? You go see my Aunt Carm. She'll cook for you." I said, "Oh, good, Italian food. That would be wonderful." So I went one day down to 240 Maple Avenue, knocked on the door, and this little gray-haired lady come to the door, opened up, said, "Hello?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I'm here. I'm a friend of your nephew, Albert Giuliano." "Oh, Albert, come in. And then I go to her house all the time, get Italian food, Easter cake, and everything. And she was sister to the two guys that owned Floyd's, Tom and Floyd Felice, who I got to know much better than that. Then I met the Frost family, her daughter Lorraine, who's here over there, and her granddaughter Kim, many years ago, and Jeff. Who? No, I'm talking about Carmela's, not Carmela's. I got it right, don't worry about it. And when her brother Floyd passed away, I, as usual, go to the wake, and I said, "Anything I can do for you, let me know." She said, "Yes, I'll call you later." So a couple of days later, she called me. She said, "I want you to take me every Saturday to the cemetery so I can polish his stone." And I did that for years and years for Carmela. She was a sweet, sweet lady and well remembered. And Sam, too. God, he was a great guy. I took those two to see Godfather. And in Godfather they spoke a little Italian. Well, they'd be sitting there laughing about things that I didn't understand. And then recently, with the Massey family, we had a little thing going. When my sister met Primo, he was a drummer in a band called the Fabulous Gems. And a heck of a drummer and a heck of a wonderful guy. And it was very sad. When he had his problem with his heart, on the Friday before he passed away, we went to see him, and he was talking, doing fine, everything was fine. And then we went to St. Louis to visit the relatives, and I got a phone call from my sister Penny, said, "Primo's gone." I said, "What?" I couldn't believe it. So I flew back, and we made arrangements. And I'll tell you, it's sad. She had a 2-night thing at Miller, but one of the nights was funny because his cousin came in, and I didn't realize who the cousin was, but Penny knows who I'm talking about. Frankie Calabrese was his first cousin. If anybody knows anything about Frankie Calabrese, they just put him away for life. He was a member of the mafia and all that good stuff. But Frankie came to the wake, and he leaned over and he said to Penny, "Anything you like?" And Penny said, "Yeah, I'd like some water." He went, "Well, water?" And these two big guys that were with him ran and got the water and brought it back. He didn't do that. Then he also drops an envelope off for me, and I told him, "I'm on the police department. I can't have anything to do with you. The FBI's watching you." He says, "Oh, I know, no problem." But he was very good to my sister and the family. And recently, his son was on Channel 9, and they showed him talking about how he testified against his dad when he was in jail, to put him in jail and everything like that. And now he's running a tour of mafia stuff in Chicago on a bus tour. So I figure one day the Masseys and all of us will go in and take the bus tour for sure. But no, their dad was a sweet man, Primo Massey. He was a great, great guy, and I got along so well with him. And the kids, they were all young when he passed, so they haven't got a lot to remember, but they should be proud of me. He was a great guy. And then we get into, I don't know, where are we at? Oh yeah, police department. In 1960, I went on full time. I was the 10th sworn in officer on the Carpentersville Police Department. We used to work one-man shifts, and then on the weekend we had a bunch of part-time guys that worked. Actually, I started out part-time and made it a full-time. And I worked for a great guy who recently passed a couple of years ago, Jim Klinkhammer. He was the chief all that time. Klink was a great guy. and I admired him a lot, and we got along very, very well, and I have a lot of good memories of him. And that's what I live off of. I live off my good memories from the good times and things that happened to me in my life, and thank God most of them were positive. I've had 2 strokes, and I made out with both of them. My left carotid artery was plugged. They opened that up and cleaned it out.
They both were plugged.
Yeah, but the one they cleaned out.
They cleaned them both out.
And then the other one, I was recently, August the 17th, I had a bubble in the brain, and I had my cell phone in my pocket, and after I fell down, I just called 911. They came, got me, took me to the hospital.
About time.
Yeah, and they did a CT scan on the brain, and they showed me it. It had a little bubble in my brain. They said, "Oh my God, you got here plenty of time. We can give you the magic medicine." Well, they gave it to me, and an hour later, did a CT scan. The bubble's gone, and no residual effects. I was very, very. I've been a very lucky person. I have 5 stents in my heart.
Mom, you got that right.
There's no more room for stents, so next time will be open heart surgery. So, but otherwise, I'm in pretty good health for an 85-year-old guy. And again, I just like to, it's wonderful to see all these smiling faces, all my relatives and friends, and that. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you have a good time. And we still have a lot of good food in there to eat, so thank you.
Thank you, congratulations, Mr. Jack, I love you, Rosanna and Monica. Yes. Say congratulations. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, John.
Yes.
Where's Grandpa? What? Are they supposed to release them?